people are relying too much on automation. I think accountability still needs to be with a human. Human in the loop is necessary. Drug development life cycle itself takes 15 years at least for them to get to the market, for a company to go to the market. There would be a huge impact in terms of things being faster and then of better quality as well.
Good afternoon and good morning if there are anyone who are outside of India. Thanks everyone for joining today. Welcome all of you for our first topic of the lab series. While this is a second session, we have inaugurated it last week. To introduce myself, Sarita here, introducing Guru Prasad Padmanabhan, who is a founder and CEO of Sangnan AI, who is very, very passionate about removing the human activities from the pharma R&D, especially on the regulatory affairs to generate the various regulatory documents like CSR, protocol, PSUR, CCDs, automate them using the generative AI, where you could save a lot of time from doing all those things in the minutes rather than doing it in months. And looking at Guru's history, he started as a physician, treated hundreds of patients in his earlier days of his career in the place of Kochayam from Kerala, and then worked at multiple organizations like UHG, Circle of Life Healthcare, and Novartis with various roles before starting Sangnan AI. He's very passionate, and then as you talk with Guru, you will understand that, and he's very passionate on using the artificial intelligence, the various formats of it, and then bringing those efficiencies into the pharma R&D. Other than that, from his education, he has done his executive program in investment banking and financial markets. That's very interesting. While he has done his master's in medical science from AIIMS and MBBS from Kottayam Medical College. So a pleasure having Guru here to take us through what AI can do on regulatory, and then how we can gain efficiencies and reduce the manual effort so that the work can be done more efficiently. All over to you.
Thanks, Sarita, for the kind introduction. What we are trying to do is improve the productivity of regulated writers so that they get to focus more on the critical and scientific aspects of these regulatory documents rather than, spending a lot of their time on quote unquote mechanical activities of writing. So mechanical, there, all roles, all jobs will have certain activities which do not correlate with the skill that the person has or his education, right? It's some kind of overhead that, you cannot move away from. How I see generative AI coming in here is to automate those mechanical parts of these roles so that writers focus on those aspects for which they have the insights and judgment. So you start off with testing in computers, also called in silico testing. Post that, there is a lot of testing in labs, essays, and so on. Whatever molecules companies feel that they have a potential. Then testing in animals happens. Then they come into the phase of clinical trials, and there are these multiple phases of trials. Eventually, once everything goes successfully, they get an opportunity to sell in the market. This takes 15 years and 2 billion of effort. The other thing also to remember is that there is this patent involved in drugs as well. So eventually, when you start off, you have 20 years of patent period. The drug development life cycle itself takes 15 years at least, for them to get to the market, for a company to go to the market, which means 15 years of delay before patients can actually reap the benefits of the medicine, 15 years before companies can start getting some ROI of their investment this far. Okay. Some of these reports are related to clinical trial course protocols. Some of them are related to safety of medicines, which is a high focus area. And thirdly, there are these core regulatory affairs related documents as well. Just calling out a few. Okay, what does this actually mean? This means that if you look at things financially, companies, every day in delay that happens in getting the drugs in the market, they're actually losing 1 million in sales. So this is sort of a financial angle. So there's a lot of motivation for them to do all means possible to reduce the life cycle in an ethical, modern manner. I'm not sure if you noticed in the previous slide, but each of these documents takes a lot of effort. Okay, at least 2 to 3 months of effort, multiple writers involved, quite complex workflows. So as you can see here, this is with regards to a specific kind of a document called the clinical study report. As you can see here, 12 steps here. These are more or less sequential, which means it's time taking. Some of these take a lot of effort, multiple members involved. This document, the effort takes 3 months of effort currently, which means a company which has put in a lot of effort has to wait for 3 months before it can go to the next stage. This sort of highlights the effort required in regulator submission. This is essential as well, right? There's no way that we can get around it. I'm not trying to justify any other way. This is required because we're talking about safety of medicines, which impacts the health of people, even the lives of people as well. What is the potential solution? The potential solution is generative AI. Why are we talking about generative AI? First of all, it just came only 2 to 3 years back with ChatGPT, right? I wouldn't say that we're already mature right now, but we have already achieved in this short lifespan huge advances in performance, and the cost is continuing to reduce as well. So performance is dramatically increased, so much so that we're able to do a lot of work which humans can do in terms of quote unquote mechanical kind of work. And they're continuing to stretch the limits of what they can do. The second is democratization, which means everybody can leverage it. There's nothing stopping anyone from using it in their day-to-day lives. There's nothing stopping me. I'm not, we don't have too much capital, but still we are able to go ahead with building an application, a product using large language models. This sort of indicates that there is a lot of democratization that has happened. Democratization basically meaning that, like democracy, it is accessible to all. All people can leverage benefits from the technology. This is basically the focus of the presentation, saying that we can use generative AI to improve the productivity of writers. Now, talking specifically in LLMs in generative AI, what is the technology that is relevant here? Many of you would be familiar with this because this has become so popular, this has become so hyped up, and that is the LLM RAG architecture. LLM standing for large language models, RAG meaning retrieval augmented generation. It means that there's a technology around processing those documents, indexing those documents in some kind of a intelligent, quote unquote, intelligent database, and then able to retrieve information based on the user's queries or prompts. So LLM RAG sort of architecture is the backbone of what I am also doing and what is relevant for the regulatory writing space as well to improve the productivity. What does this mean? It means that what this involves basically is some technology where people are able to onboard their documents, as you can see on the screen, any kind of document. And then the next step is that it should be processed and parsed, parsed meaning able to extract information from it in an intelligent manner, intelligent insights being picked up from the data, from the documents, then being stored in a kind of a database, not a usual relation database, but in these so-called vector databases. Vector databases sort of retain information around the semantics or the understanding of the text in these documents. So once this is put in, as you can see in the third step here, vectorization, they are made available in the vector databases. Now we are all set, right? So when a user, as you can see in the last step, it's not actually a last step, you have to actually break it down. So when a user puts in a prompt or asks a query, right, then what is going to happen is based on the query, the system is going to then pick up relevant content from the vector database and then picked up and made available to the LLM. That is where the LLM comes into action, the last step. Now the LLM has got the content that it requires to answer the query or the prompt, and then the LLM uses its inherent power to answer the prompt based on information. It is easy to sort of test this out, right? I mean, many of you would have already done it. If you go to ChatGPT, you have the option of uploading a document, right? You upload a document, whether it be PDF or Excel or whatever, and then you're able to answer a question, and you're able to put in a question or a prompt, then you're able to get answers, right? So what's actually happening under the hood is the same RAGs as what is working, doing this magic. You try to do that for regular documents, you'll fail. Okay, that's another question. So RAG architecture is quite broad. There are so many optimizations aspects that we can bring in, and that would be required in order to ensure that this is worthy of use for regulatory writers. Why should we actually try to qualify it? Because regulatory writing is very stringent. It basically makes or breaks whatever a drug maker is doing. After all the effort that the drug maker has done, and then he prepares his document, and the document is a proof that goes to the regulatory bodies. And the regulatory body, if the quality of the document is not at par, then anything can happen. And all this effort that he has done, the webmaker has done, moves on between. So in order to ensure that the quality, the format, the structure, the language, everything is appropriate, we have to ensure that this LLM RAG architecture is purpose built for this use case. All right, can we go to the next slide? This is still hypothetical. This is based on my sort of research, and that's what we're trying to do at my company. What I will say is, like I showed you in one of the previous slides, that this entire process of regulatory drafting and submission is painstakingly slow. I wouldn't call it slow because there is a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time, and it is error prone because we humans are not like machines. We cannot continuously come up with the same quality. Each human is different as well. So writers also they're different in quality. What generative AI can do is it can provide a lot of consistency in how it responds. It doesn't get tired, right? It can work all the time. It can get tired. It can do all the mechanical activity of drafting. What is the mechanical activity of drafting? For example, copy paste. Copy paste. It's not just a copy paste, right? You might have to convert it into past tense. You might have to translate. You might have to summarize. You might have to rewrite. You might have to change the structure. A lot of things which requires a lot of concentration, attention. But after all, it's not so intellectually challenging for the writer. Those things can be automated very well with LLMs, with generative AI. So as you can see here, there are multiple steps involved. You have the initial draft generation, then there is a review, and there is a quality control checklist being done, evaluated, and then comes a submission. So initial draft generation, which means the initial draft, which of course will undergo a few iterations, will take a lot of time. That can be significantly automated with generative AI, which means if it takes 1.5 to 2 months even, that can be done in a few minutes with generative AI. Why? Because this is not going to get automatically then submitted to regulatory bodies. No. Nowhere am I indicating that there's a fully automated system. There should be human oversight for sure. There should be human accountability as well. So this happens really fast. Then review, I estimate the reviews also will become better because overall the quality will be better. And then quality better, why? Not just because LLM is doing this job, but also because writers are freed and they can focus their effort on the critical aspects of the documents, which is, for example, maybe to ensure that the interpretation of tables, interpretation of results is done properly, how the conclusion is done. Conclusion is very important, which right now I don't think LLMs can do. Conclusion meaning discussion conclusion, meaning the writer has to understand the overall context beyond the documents that have been submitted. He needs to have a high level understanding of the entire life cycle of the drug. What are the competitors? What is happening on the ground? How are patients suffering? How will they benefit with the drug and so on? All those insights only a writer can bring. Now writers more time to draft all those. So therefore, the overall quality would be better. And when the overall quality is better, the reviews also would be better. QCs can be automated. QCs is again, I would call it as quote unquote mechanical. There might be certain items which are not, but a lot of QCs is also mechanical. And there is a checklist which needs to be followed. Are links working? Are hyperlinks working? Are the tables, figures being appropriately numbered, and so on, right? Those can all be automated with so-called agentic framework. So overall, what you see is there would be a huge impact in terms of things being faster and then of better quality as well. Because there's going to be a combined effort where writers will have, will leverage the complementarity aspects of LLMs to support them. It's going to be like an AI drafting assistant that works all the time. You are getting tired. All right. So ultimately, what's going to happen is, let's say a document takes 3 months, it might take 2 to 3 weeks with generative AI to support the writer. All right. Can we go to the next slide? I referred to this a little bit in back, right? How does generative AI actually help the writer? The main thing is around generating the initial draft. How? That is through content summarization, translation, formatting simple copy paste with a change in the tense. Then we're also looking at QC checklists with agents that can be done. Overall, LLMs will have better command of the language, of the English language, right? And there are challenges, of course. I'm not saying that it is all proven right now. With the right skill to build a good system, I think we can manage to get some good accurate systems as well. It will not be 100% accurate. There might be some minor issues, but there is a human in the loop who will review and ensure that these small percentage of errors can be fixed. All right, can we go to the next one? So what are the risks? I think many of you would already know, right? The first term here, calling hallucinations. Everybody would have heard about hallucinations. People with life sciences background may have heard about hallucinations even before the advent of LLMs, right? Hallucination basically is related to certain mental disorders, and not even mental disorders. It might also be the mind playing tricks with you, where the mind appears to see something which is not supported by any sensory experience, right? So a hallucination, the term got inspired from medical science, and now people are using it for LLMs. So it refers to the situation where LLMs generate some content, some response which is not supported by facts. And if you have used ChatGPT or others quite extensive, you would, I'm sure you have come across it hallucinating. And what people tell me is that it's never going to be in a situation where LLMs are going to become perfect and not hallucinate. This problem is going to persist. The limits for that, the threshold for that would continue to increase, but never can we say, that it'll work perfectly. Why? Because LLMs have been built that way. They have been built to generate. They have not been built to do something else, for lack of a better word. They have been built to generate some content. We give it something, the only by its very own nature, the only thing that it will try to do is generate some response. And now people have figured out how that response should be aligned with the question so that the response is like an answer to the question. So hallucination inequalities are there. So the solution that has to be built to support writers, we need to ensure that these things are mitigated. The second is data privacy and confidentiality. This being the pharmaceutical industry and regulatory submissions are no different. There's a lot of confidential information, proprietary information for the company, which lies in the document that needs to be generated and the source documents which are required for the document to be generated, right? How can we ensure that confirmation that companies are sharing for such a solution to, help them does not lead to, impacting privacy, does not lead to loss of information, does not lead to, unauthorized people getting access to this information, right? These are challenges, but there are ways to work out this. LLM providers themselves are coming up with solutions to ensure that their LLMs can be used for various use cases. So you're already seeing, products like mine, basically in this space, you're already seeing them in the market right now. Not only in the pharmaceutical industry, you're also seeing similar products in the financial industry as well, which is also highly regulated, right? So data privacy confidentiality are issues which can be overcome and it should be overcome. And finally, over reliance on automation is more forward looking. We're not reached a place where people are relying too much on automation. I think accountability still needs to be with a human. Human in the loop is necessary. I'm not indicating that we can fully automate this. So, what is the current status right now? I talked about generative AI being used and blah blah blah. Right? What is the current situation? I would say there's no proper source of information. There's just on opinion of veterans in the industry. Clearly, more than 85 to 90% of the current regulated documents are even now being done manually, fully manually. Then around 5 to 10% are currently being done by various applications which provide some degree of automation, which are more through legacy kind of approaches, 5 to 10% maybe. And now we are seeing the emergence of new companies and new products which are trying to totally change the way the writing has been done. We are yet to see any concrete result, but I think everybody's interested. And I would say it is good for everybody, companies, writers themselves, patients, right? Everybody, I think, would see the benefit of this being successfully implemented. All right. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, I think I'm done. I think we have a quick presentation. We close the call, and maybe it's a good thing that we can, if there are some questions, we can try to address this.
To start with, Guru, that was a great session. Thank you so much for that insights. But then when you're talking about the hallucinations and inaccuracies with the Gen AI, this was something which I was trying to reflect on from the last week's session. One of the question was, how do we manage the confident errors when we are using AI? And how can you reduce the confident errors using an AI in any space?
What do you mean by confident? I don't understand the question. Can you just elaborate a little bit more?
Okay. Yeah. So the confident errors is when you are using Gen AI or any of the AI in that matter, the accuracy of the information what we receive it, right? To give you a simple example, when we are using ChatGPT, you always get that disclaimer that ChatGPT can make errors. You need to review it before you start using it, kind of it, right? And then, at least in the initial days, we have seen that you be cautious about the information what is coming up, because it's just based on the data what is fed there is what you get it, no matter how many ever times, how many different ways you prompt those questions.
Got it. Yeah. I think it's a very important question. especially so in this field, in the regulatory writing field.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
the, in
Yeah.
the Correct. So in the regulatory writing
Yes.
field, we cannot even have the case where LLM is producing a correct output, but based on its own knowledge. We cannot even have that. It should strictly
Mm-hmm.
pick up information only from the documents that is uploaded. That is the
Okay.
specific use case in regulatory writing. There are a few ways to do it. I think it has to be one, there has to be some intelligent engineering to ensure
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't hallucinate. We clearly try to restrict its creativity and tell it, you're not supposed to be creative. You're supposed to retrieve information that is made available to you. So that's one. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's about engineering. The second
Mm-hmm.
is, we should have those sort of walls, where first of all, the process is such that there is some human accountability, right? Where no
Mm-hmm.
one should
Yeah.
assume that whatever is coming from the system. So the disclaimer is one thing, but also in the process in regulated writing where such a tool is being used, we need to ensure that the process takes care of any
Mm-hmm.
issues around that. The third is it's also important for the solution provider to monitor and report the accuracy of
Mm-hmm.
its own system and
Mm-hmm.
also provide ways by which users can see the performance of the system, see the accuracy of the system.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is some way, what I'm saying is, let's say some document is being generated through generative AI. Okay, so maybe some prompt is run, some output is generated. Okay, one
Mm-hmm.
is at that point of time, is there a way by which we provide some kind of a metric, some value to the user or the writer, indicating how the LLM performs for that output with
Mm-hmm.
respect to the source document. So there are
Mm-hmm.
certain ways that we are trying to do it internally in my company, but that is something essential that needs to be tried. So at a high level, the answer being that there's not one single approach that we need to have. It depends on use case to use case, but in whatever use case, based on whatever the tolerance limits are for inaccuracy, you should have multiple approaches to ensure that the performance of the system lies within that tolerance limit.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. I have so one question from Srinivas. Thank you so much, Srinivas, for asking. What is the accuracy percentage? What has been observed with the usage of the solution for any of your sponsors, Guru?
Yeah, so you can look at accuracy also in a couple of ways. Okay.
Uh-huh.
One is something related to what is called precision. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk about right now is not the exact mathematical definition of precision. I'm using it analogously in our use case. So what I'm saying is so precision in my use case, I'm sort of abusing this term here. What I'm saying is, let's say you get an output of the response. You get an output to a prompt. You get a response to a prompt. Now, one is to ensure that whatever has come, does it faithfully reflect whatever information is there in those documents? So hallucination indicates that there is poor precision. There is some information in the source documents, but the LLM is giving something wrong. In that sense, we have built internally has got near 100% precision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what about recall? I'm using these data science terms. Recall meaning that let's say you have so much information in your source documents. You have certain information in source documents, and you're basically asking a prompt. For example, let's say you wanted to, sort of rewrite or summarize the background and rationale of a particular clinical trial. Okay, and that
Mm-hmm.
information is coming from the protocol. Now it will give a response. Now this recall basically tests how much of important information in the source documents was actually retrieved in the response of the LLM. Basically, have we missed any crucial information in the response? So let's say the rationale talks about the mechanism of action, for example, which is very
Mm-hmm.
crucial for the writer, maybe. And then the response is what has come out accurately, but is even not even talking about mechanism of action, right? Then I would say that the recall is low for the system. Now,
Okay.
recall is an issue with any system, but that to an extent can be mitigated with some smart prompt engineering.
Since we have another question from Swastika, how can organizations ensure that Gen AI assisted regulatory writing meets the GCP and data integrity standards, especially as we move towards the increased automation and reduced human drafting?
Well, that's a great question, and the answer
Yes.
is not straightforward. It's very nuanced, and I may not even know the full answer to this. Generative AI
Mm-hmm.
obviously would have many applications. We would going forward see many more applications. Challenges to ensure that these generative AI solutions are aligned with GXP in providing those services to pharmaceutical companies. Right, depends on the use cases. If it is, let's say, a fully automated kind of a thing, then I would say there were a lot of challenges for both for the solution to be sort of certified, quote unquote, certified with GXP, and also that companies would face challenges to ensure that this can actually be used within the company. High level answer, I would say that there are challenges, but they're not showstoppers. People have to be very careful, and I think going forward, all stakeholders would be open and they will figure out ways by which these systems can be deployed for the benefit of all.
Great, great. That's absolutely agree with that. And to add on to it, I think a lot of places, I think everywhere, wherever we hear about AI, it's not completely replacing the human. There is a human involvement on everything and anything. I think that's a good example of using Copilot or even ChatGPT, because that's where you even get the disclaimers that it has to be verified and ensured for the accuracy. But then definitely some of the monotonous activities can be done by the Gen AI, so that our time, the humans can have better time management and better be focused on most critical aspects of it. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, hi Guru. It was nice presentation. My question is, for example, we have ChatGPT. I'm using ChatGPT to develop something. It's okay. So basically, we use prompt engineering and send our prompts and get replies. That's the basic stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I give you a generic example of let's take a recruiter. Okay, so recruiter needs to verify lots of profiles on every day. So what we can do is we'll extract the content. You are telling about documents, right? So I got this idea. So we extract the content from the document and then put it to LLM, and then LLM asks something. Okay, like is this a genuine guy, or I do have this requirement, like Java struts of these technologies. Can this resume match to that my requirement or not? Something like that. So the LLM can respond, right? So with this information, going forward like a week, a month, can we develop something locally which will acquire all that knowledge to complement ChatGPT, not ChatGPT or any LLM. So basically take ChatGPT or Llama or whatever it is, that is not fine-tuned for my requirement. My requirement is just, look at a profile and then, match with my requirement and then say that, it's good for it or not. So I may have like thousands of profiles, and then I have one more requirement. I need to skim through all the profiles and then pick up the few, right? So after a few iterations, like in a few days, can we enhance it?
So you're asking about overall, can some fine tuning, can some training be done so that the LLM becomes better for the task? Is that what you're asking?
LLM stays there. For example, ChatGPT, I
Huh.
can't fine tune it. But if you say like, Llama, I can fine tune it. I can download it and fine tune it. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that, but I don't know. It's purely, hypothetical question. Can we develop something in between which gains this accumulated knowledge of a few days or, weeks to enhance the quality of the profile pickup?
Sorry
Um,
to interrupt. I'm Darshini. So I am a medical writer. So I was exactly about to ask something similar to what Aswani is asking. So if we talk in terms of medical writing documents, so if I'm, for example, preparing a CSR, the source documents, what I provide is the TLFs and everything, whatever sources I have, I give it. Okay. And once I give the prompt, it gives me the initial draft. So after I see the initial draft, I feel that there are some customizations that can be done. So is AI coming into that step where the AI can learn again if we put something back as a prompt or a feedback to the AI, so that it can fine tune itself and give us that proper results? I don't know, Aswini, whether I'm going in the right direction or not.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We also helping
Yes,
the
we are helping the AI
AI.
to learn better and
Yes, yes,
understand it, and then give us again some another precise draft or a precise
yes.
result based on what the AI is learning from us if we give
Yeah.
feedback to the AI. Something like that. So does it
Ah,
learn and does it again give back to us, or how is it?
2 days
Definitely.
ago, I heard something about MCP servers. When I was hearing about MCP servers, they say that MCP servers can accumulate some knowledge and perform better. I don't know how for that.
Based on my knowledge, so I'm not a technical guy. Okay. Given that, since I work closely with my co-founder who takes the entire headache around the technology bit, see, MCP is just like the USB 2, right? The USB, the adapter USB 2 is so versatile that you can USB every device now has got a USB 2 slot, right? Everyone can fit in with each other. So that's where MCP comes in. But keeping that aside, trying to answer the core questions that both of you had. Yes, definitely yes. There are multiple moving pieces here, for which if we use this information, for example, Darshini that you talked about, where you would want to fine tune the response. You would have an idea of what the ideal response would be. That would absolutely, improve the system for the better. Okay. One is, of course, what is called the fine tuning of the LLM. That can be done even for proprietary LLMs. Ashwini, that's what my co-founder told me. I had to check with him because all of
Okay.
these systems they provide it. It might be relatively more expensive or whatnot, but when you have your own open source, definitely that even you called it out, that can be done. That's only one part. The second, like I said, this is called the RAG architecture, right? So RAG meaning retrieval as well. So in terms of the processing of documents, the retrieval as well, these things all can be made better by understanding what the user wants. So if your response, if you change the prompt or you say that, this is the information that I want, and we know where the information lies in the document, we will be able to better anticipate by, fine tuning the backend. We will be able to fine tune saying that, we anticipate that we anticipate that medical writers in general want this information, or medical writers in a particular working for a particular pharmaceutical company. This is the information that they want, and we know that this information, and maybe even they know the information comes from this part of the source document. This absolutely can improve the way the system improves. Quick answer to that, yes. I'm sure that over time, client specific as well as broadly generic as well, systems would become better over time. Yeah.
So I have another question actually. So,
Yeah.
like we said, that many of us, to be very honest, they are using Copilot because we require, because our timelines are very crunched, because the stakeholders come back with us saying that this has to be finished in this much time or tenure, and then it really becomes very difficult because there are multiple steps to be covered as well. So I found by using Copilot, sometimes I saw that it saves history of whatever prompt we give and whatever results it gives us, be it chat gpt, be it copilot. I have been using only these two, but if chat gpt, to be very honest, only for personal things, and copilot for our work basis. So in ms copilot also I could see that there is a history that it saves. So if we are talking about gen ai, a tool which is similar to what copilot is, if that also saves a history, and same tool is used by my opponent stakeholder, so is the tool generic that is shared with all the stakeholders, or whether we share customized gen ai tool with with different stakeholders? You got my question, right? What I'm asking, if the
Yeah.
history is saved,
Yeah.
then
More
it
on
again comes to the
access part.
point. Yeah, again it comes to
More
the
on
point
access.
of
Yeah.
data
Yeah.
confidentiality, because one stakeholder can see the data or the research what is going on with the other stakeholder can see what is going
Competitors.
on, so it
It could be with
again.
the competitors' data as
Yes,
well.
yes. So it becomes like breaching of all the things.
Yeah, the short answer to that is transparency is very important,
Hmm.
Darshini. So generally, solution providers in this space should be transparent with their clients, saying that, do you want a system that can learn and improve for you better?
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
However, it will also depend on the kind of offering that you want. So let's say we go to a big pharma. Big
hmm,
pharma
hmm.
will have their own private cloud. Okay.
Yes, yes,
So to
absolutely.
them, correct. So to them, the solution provider will say, we can deploy it in your private cloud. And
Hmm.
when we deploy it in your private cloud, all the learnings, improvements,
Will be
all will remain
private.
strictly within you. Correct. Strictly only for you.
Okay, okay.
So those can be done. I think people realize it, that there are these concerns from people like you. Pretty much everybody would have that concern, and
Hmm, hmm,
therefore
hmm.
providers are sensitive about that, and they should be transparent. And I think most are transparent. This
Because
this is essential. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because
Really aligned. Yes.
currently whatever research is going on, it is like all the pharma companies are going very neck to neck, so
Yeah.
everyone is in the market of competition, and in this space of competition the medical writers are stuck very badly in this
Mm.
space to
Yeah.
develop the content very fast, so
Yeah.
that becomes a very great challenge.
No, you called it a very valid point.
Absolutely
This
agree.
is
And
yeah.
another thing is on the access part, again, I'm not pro on regulatory, but then at least on some of the clinical trials technologies, maybe a lot of sponsors use the same tools, but it is all access restricted, how we manage the databases and all of it, right? Something similar to it should be very
Definitely.
feasible
That's essential.
to be
Yeah.
done on these AI solutions as well.
Absolutely.
As we are talking about privacy and access issues, they are very skeptical in taking AI inside because
Mm.
and then again, if we say we take 3 months to prepare something, and they are like, oh my god, why 3 months? So that is again an issue.
What is your personal opinion about AI? Are you generally, let's say, solutions provided to, are you generally sort of positive to it, or you're like neutral, or you're sort of threatened by it? What is your general take?
No, I don't feel threatened because eventually, see, it is not going to cut down jobs
Mm.
very drastically, but to a certain
Mm.
extent, yes, it is going to cut
Mm.
down jobs, but then there will be like a human intervention, especially in the field of regulatory writing is
True.
mandatory, because the interpretation of stats, conclusion, discussion is very much crucial, so that
Correct.
will be required. How much ever the AI gets adaptive or AI learns from us, even if we give feedback, every trial is different, so every document is different, so human intervention will be required. So my personal take is, if you are a writer or if you are a person who has his or her own skills and you are confident on that, then you should not be threatened by AI. That is what I feel, because
Cool.
human touch will be required. I am very confident about regulatory medical writing that people will have their jobs. I don't know about other fields, but
Mm.
regulatory writing will still have jobs. That is for sure.
Great.
Great. Great. I mean, I'm loving a great discussion happening. Thank you. Do we have any? I know we are getting closer to the time, but do we have any one question maybe we could take if anyone has? If not, maybe I would wrap it up. And thank you so much for making a great start of very focused sessions, which we really wanted. And that is where we wanted to do this AI education. And we want people to come here, share ideas, have this kind of discussions, which would be a spark for even have some innovative solutions for those who are working with AI, and then share ideas. So I'm really happy to see how it is progressing. So feel free to reach out to Guru if anyone are interested to explore or even have a demo, get to little lot more insights into that, and then evaluate how it works for you if you wanted to proceed. And then I really enjoyed the session. Thank you so much for starting as a great one, our initial first session, Guru. Appreciate all your time. And thanks everyone. I mean, the audience, you guys really made it very, very interacting. Thank you so much, Darshini. It was great to see you and have the conversation. Thank you, Ashwini. Thank you, Swastika, for your questions. I think this was a great start. And look forward for our next sessions, because even our next sessions, considering this is a weekly session, we will have a lot more very focused content on different aspects. So if you are into that, it's great. We could have a lot more detailed conversation and discussion, understand, learn from each other. But if you are not from that department, maybe you will learn something from that operations, which would also help, and we will take it from there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you once again, Guru, for your time.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for this opportunity.
thank
Thank you
you,
everyone.
Take
Shrija
care.
and Gal
Bye
team
bye,
there
take
for
care.
all the support. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your Friday and great weekend. We will see you again next week. Thanks, guys. Bye, everyone.